Have you ever stopped to question whether you're truly the person you believe yourself to be? What if the thoughts you carry, the decisions you make, and the patterns of pain you keep repeating aren't even your own? What if you've been living someone else's script, one written by fear, by past trauma, by the voices of expectations or doubts you've carried for years? Until you bring the unconscious to light, it will continue to steer your life, and you'll mistake it for fate. This profound insight from Carl Jung is the key to understanding a prison many people are unknowingly trapped in. And here's the hard truth. No amount of success, meditation, or healing can truly set you free until you understand this. Could Buddhism, one of the world's oldest spiritual traditions, be offering the exact guidance modern minds are missing? In this video, we're going to explore the unseen chains that keep you stuck, trapped in cycles you don't even realize you're part of. If you take away anything from this, let it be this. Knowing this truth is everything you need to know in life. Stay tuned, because at the end, I'll be revealing a powerful bonus lesson that could change the way you experience every moment. Number 1. Find the hidden force within you. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the storm. We change jobs, end relationships, move to new cities, all in the hope that the next change will bring peace. But what if peace was never something to be found outside of you? Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. This isn't just a simple quote. It's the key to unlocking your inner freedom. Buddhist philosophy doesn't promise a life without suffering. It teaches us how to suffer consciously. The Buddha taught that true suffering doesn't stem from the pain itself, but from the illusion that we are powerless in the face of it. We identify with the voices in our heads, the constant stream of thoughts and judgments, and we begin to believe that this is who we are. But you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, the quiet presence that observes everything. So take a moment and ask yourself, what is it that is observing your thoughts right now? Pause. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel that awareness. That's you. The part of you that never breaks, never reacts, that only sees. And within that seeing lies your freedom. In today's world, we're constantly told that strength is about achieving more, posting more, doing more. But Buddhism turns this notion on its head. True strength doesn't lie in how loud you are or how much you can accomplish. True strength is in how still you can remain when everything around you is shaking. Imagine this. Someone insults you. Your ego wants to react, to defend itself. But the awakened mind simply watches. It's in that pause, that moment of stillness, where you reclaim your power. You stop being the puppet pulled by external forces and become the master of your own response. Real strength is silent. It sits in meditation not for peace later, but to remember the peace that's always been here. Sit silently for just 5 minutes a day. No music, no distractions, just you and your breath. Then ask, who is breathing me? What you'll find is not a voice, but a presence. One that can't be shaken, one that watches the rise and fall of everything without becoming it. A young woman once told me, I thought my breakup shattered me, but it actually revealed me. It stripped away who I wasn't, and what remained was silence. And in that silence I found someone I had forgotten, me. So ask yourself, what if the strength you're searching for is simply your stillness misunderstood? What if the pain you're trying to fix is only the storm and you've forgotten the sky? You don't have to become someone new. You only have to remember the one who sees. At the end of it all, here's the truth. The most powerful version of you doesn't react. It observes. It doesn't chase. It witnesses. It doesn't control. It awakens. Wake up from the illusion of powerlessness. Sit. Breathe. Watch. And you will find that the one watching is already free. 2. Wake up to reality. You think you're awake, but are you really? Most people walk through life like a fish in water, completely unaware of the medium they swim in. Emotions rise, thoughts spiral, things happen, and we react. But here's the hard truth. You'll never be free until you wake up to reality, not the external one, but the reality of your own unconscious patterns. Imagine this. You're in traffic, running late, and someone cuts you off. Instantly, your chest tightens. Irritation flares, and maybe a curse slips out. You tell yourself, they made me angry. But did they? Or did they just reveal the anger already living in you? As long as you're asleep, suffering feels real. That quote isn't about dreams. It's about the illusion we live in every day, the illusion that your peace depends on circumstances. In Buddhist philosophy, the core teaching is simple. Suffering isn't caused by what happens. It's caused by your unconscious response to it. You're not trapped by the world. You're trapped by the mind reacting to it without your permission. But the good news is this. Every moment offers a door, and the key is awareness. Start small. Begin a practice of micro-awareness. The next time a wave of anxiety, jealousy, or frustration rises, don't fight it. Just notice it. Silently name it. This is anger. This is fear. Then breathe. This simple act stops the unconscious loop, because the moment you become aware of a reaction, you're no longer inside it. You're watching it, and the watcher's always free. Wakefulness isn't a grand enlightenment experience. It's not lightning bolts or chants echoing in a temple. It's seeing what is without illusion. It's looking at your partner during a fight and realizing this isn't about them. This is my fear of not being seen. It's catching yourself working late and noticing, I'm not chasing success. I'm running from feeling unworthy. Someone once told me, I thought I needed to fix my life, but I just needed to wake up to it. And that shift changed everything, because once you become the observer of your life, you stop being the victim of it. So ask yourself, are you living your life or just reacting to it? What patterns have been driving you for years without your permission? The need to be liked, the fear of abandonment, the urge to prove your worth, are they still running the show? The Buddhist path doesn't ask you to escape life. It invites you to see life clearly with calm, conscious presence. That's when healing begins, not by changing your circumstances, but by shifting your relationship to them. Here's the breakthrough. Freedom isn't something you chase. It's something you awaken to, and awakening begins the moment you stop reacting and start observing. So breathe, watch, question, and remember, you are not your pain, your past, or your patterns. You are the one waking up from them. 3. You are not broken, but fragmented. Life has a way of chipping away at us. A heartbreak here, a betrayal there, rejection, failure, shame. Each one causes us to abandon a part of ourselves. We learn to hide our vulnerability, to silence our anger, to numb our grief. Piece by piece, we exile the very emotions that need our presence most. And then one day, we look in the mirror and don't recognize who we are. Like a shattered mirror, we see only fragments, but mistake them for the whole. Buddhist wisdom invites you to look deeper. It doesn't ask you to fix yourself. It asks you to return to yourself. Wholeness isn't about becoming perfect. It's about welcoming every part of you home. Sit with the emotions you've been running from, that shame that tightens your chest, that fear you try to drown in productivity, that quiet anger you disguise as silence. They are not your enemies. They are lost children knocking on the door, asking to come back inside. One of the most powerful practices in Buddhism is radical acceptance, not of circumstances, but of the self. The ancient teachers knew that the moment you stop fighting your inner world, healing begins. So try this. When pain rises, don't push it away. Say, you too are welcome here. Feel it, witness it. And in that witnessing, something extraordinary happens. The scattered pieces begin to return. A man once shared with me, for years I thought I needed to destroy my weakness, but I finally realized I just needed to sit beside it, not judge it, just be with it. And in that stillness, he began to feel whole again, not because the pain vanished, but because he stopped abandoning himself. So let me ask you, What parts of you are you still trying to exile? The insecure voice? The part of you that's still angry at your past? The one that still craves love even after being hurt? What if none of these made you less worthy but more human? You don't need to become someone else to be whole. You only need to stop running from who you already are. Wholeness is not something you find. It's something you remember. And remembering begins the moment you hold even your most unpolished parts as sacred. Because in the end, freedom doesn't come from fixing yourself. It comes from loving yourself deeply enough to gather every scattered piece and whisper, "You belong here too." 4. Face your shadow. There's a part of you you've been avoiding, not because it's evil, but because it's painful. You tuck it away hoping it'll stay quiet. But it doesn't. It speaks in the language of repeated patterns, failed relationships, chronic procrastination, unexpected anger. It whispers in your insecurities, screams in your silence. What you do not face will rise again in different forms. And this is the truth. You'll never be free until you face your shadow. Imagine a child afraid of the monster under the bed. Every night they tremble beneath the covers, too scared to look. But the monster, it's just a pile of clothes. The moment the light is turned on, the fear dissolves. Your shadow is the same. The fear isn't in the thing itself. It's in your refusal to look. Your shadow is not something to destroy, but something to understand. It's the version of you you've been taught to reject, the anger you suppress, the jealousy you deny, the sadness you shame yourself for feeling. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is born from ignorance, not knowing who we really are and refusing to see all that we are. The shadow isn't separate from your light, it is your teacher. Denied emotions don't disappear, they fester. The parts of yourself you push away become the saboteurs of your peace. But once you acknowledge them, you reclaim the energy you've been using to hide. Try this. Write down the emotions that trigger you the most. What patterns keep looping in your life? What moments cause you to overreact or shut down? Now trace them. Where did you first feel this? Who told you it wasn't okay to be that version of you? Your triggers are treasure maps pointing you to wounds still waiting to be healed. I once knew a man who constantly feared abandonment. Every time someone got close, he would push them away, not because he didn't care, but because deep down, he believed he wasn't worthy of being loved. That belief came from a childhood where love was conditional. For years, he avoided this truth until he finally sat with it. He wrote letters to his younger self, gave his inner child a voice, and slowly, the fear softened. The pattern broke because the only way out of your pain is through it. So let me ask you, are you ready to meet the version of you you've been afraid to see? What truth about yourself are you avoiding that might actually set you free? Stop running. Face your shadow with compassion, not judgment. Turn on the light. You are not your pain, but you are the only one who can choose to heal it. Remember, shadow work is spiritual surgery. It cuts deep, but it liberates even deeper. And on the other side of that discomfort lies your truest strength. Not a perfect you, but a whole you, a free you. Because freedom doesn't come from light alone. It comes from learning to hold the dark too. 5. Understand nothing happens by chance. Sometimes life breaks you open, not to punish you, but to prepare you. You lose someone. A door slams shut, the job ends, the dream dies. And in the silence that follows, you ask, why me? But Buddhism reminds us, the path appears when the student is ready. What if the moment you're in, no matter how confusing, painful, or uncertain, is not an accident? What if every twist in your journey has been placed there with quiet wisdom, like a leaf carried by the wind, landing exactly where it's meant to fall? There was a time you thought everything was going according to plan. But then life shifted, a breakup, a layoff, an identity crisis. Suddenly, the solid ground beneath you felt like sand. You might have blamed yourself, blamed others, or assumed the universe had abandoned you. But what if all along, Life wasn't falling apart, but falling into place. What if this pain isn't punishment, but preparation? In Buddhist philosophy, life is viewed as a vast web of cause and effect, not chaos. What you experience is not meaningless. It's the unfolding of inner causes, often hidden beneath the surface of your awareness. Every heartbreak, every setback is a message. But to hear it, you must stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" Try this. Reflect on one of your most painful experiences. Sit with it, not to relive the hurt, but to unearth the insight. What did you learn about yourself? What strength did it awaken? What illusion did it destroy? Life's most profound teachings often arrive disguised as endings. But if you can hold your suffering with curiosity, not resistance, its meaning will unfold, not in words, but in transformation. I once met a woman who was devastated after being rejected from her dream university. She spiraled, depressed, ashamed, lost. But that detour led her to volunteer abroad. There she discovered a new path, helping children in need. And it gave her life meaning she never expected. Looking back, she didn't regret missing that opportunity. She realized she'd been redirected towards something deeper. Because sometimes what feels like loss is life's way of guiding you to something more aligned with who you're becoming. So I ask you, are you resisting what is trying to evolve you? Can you trust that this chaos might be sacred? That every delay, every detour has a direction buried inside it? Nothing in your life is wasted, not a single tear, not a single failure. They are threads in the larger design, shaping you, not breaking you. When you stop trying to control the narrative and begin to listen to it, you realize you are not lost. You are being led. Let go of needing every step to make sense now. One day, it will. And when it does, you'll see the path didn't appear when everything was perfect. It appeared when you were ready to walk it. 6. Learn the collective unconscious. You think your pain is personal, that no one could possibly understand the weight you carry. But take a breath and look deeper. Beneath the surface of your sorrow lies a quiet truth. You are not alone, and you never were. Buddhism reminds us there is no self apart from others. We awaken together or not at all. You are not an isolated storm drifting through life. You are a drop of the same unseen ocean. Every ripple within you sends a wave through the whole. Imagine someone on the other side of the world sitting with heartbreak, disappointment, or fear, just like you. Different faces, different lives, but the same ache, the same longing to be understood, the same desire to feel whole. What if your personal struggle is humanity's too? Every time you heal a wound, offer forgiveness, or choose stillness over reaction, you don't just change your life, you shift the collective field we all live in. There was a young man once lost in depression after a failed relationship. He thought his pain made him weak, that he had to fix himself alone. But during a meditation retreat, he was guided to picture someone else, a stranger, sitting with the same pain. As he sent compassion to this invisible other, something broke open in him. He realized his heartbreak wasn't just his. It was part of a much larger story. In that moment, his shame softened into empathy, and his healing began, not by resisting his pain, but by sharing it energetically with someone else. Try this. The next time you sit in silence, breathe in your suffering, and as you breathe out, send comfort to anyone else who might be feeling the same. No names, no stories, just presence. Compassion is not pity. It's remembering we're all in this together, that your inner peace is not separate from the world's peace. Your transformation lifts the whole. Meditate not only for your peace, but for those who can't find theirs yet. That single act of kindness inside your own mind can change the vibration of an entire room. Because the collective unconscious is real, we are connected through invisible threads of emotion, thought, energy, and your awakening lights a path for someone else to find their way. So ask yourself, Can you feel your pain and someone else's at the same time and still love both? This is the true heart of Buddhism, not to escape suffering, but to transmute it through awareness and compassion. You are not a separate wave crashing against life. You are part of the ocean itself. Your wholeness is tied to the wholeness of others. When you rise, we all rise. When you heal the world. Freedom begins the moment you realize your journey is not just your own. Let that truth humble you. Let it empower you, and let it remind you that your pain, your growth, your peace, it all matters because we awaken together or not at all. 7. Observe, don't absorb. A thought appears, I'm not good enough. Another follows, they don't care about me. Emotions swirl like a sudden storm, and just like that, you're no longer watching your mind, you're drowning in it. But what if that inner chaos wasn't yours to carry? What if, instead of reacting, you simply observed? Buddhism teaches you are the silent witness behind every thought and feeling. You are not the storm. You are the mountain beneath it. Right now, most people confuse what they think with what's true. They let fleeting emotions define their entire identity. You feel sad, and suddenly you are sadness. But here's the shift that frees you. You can observe your mind without becoming its prisoner. Just because a thought enters your awareness doesn't mean it belongs to you. Just because you feel something doesn't mean you need to obey it. There's a story of a monk who was once mocked during his morning meditation. A passerby hurled insults at him, trying to provoke anger, but the monk stayed still, unshaken. When asked later why he didn't respond, he smiled and said, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't take it, to whom does it belong?" That's the power of observation. It gives you the space between stimulus and response, and in that space, freedom lives. Practice this mantra daily. I am aware of this thought. I do not become it. When anxiety rises, observe it like clouds passing through the sky. When anger appears, notice how it feels, tight jaw, clenched fists. But don't fuse with it. Label it. Witness it. Let it pass. You are the sky, vast, open, unmoved, and emotions are simply passing weather. This is not about suppressing your emotions. It's about remembering they are visitors, not permanent residents. Thoughts are not facts. Emotions are not destiny. The moment you realize this, you no longer react blindly. You choose. You respond. You become conscious. So ask yourself, are you confusing your thoughts for truth? When your inner critic speaks, do you mistake its voice for your own? That voice is not you. It's a pattern, a memory, a remnant of past conditioning. Let it speak, but don't follow, don't absorb, just observe. Try this the next time you're overwhelmed. Pause and ask, what am I experiencing and who is noticing it? That quiet watcher behind the thought, that's you. The more you live from that space, the more unshakable you become. Calm in conflict, clear in confusion, be the mountain. Let the weather pass. The mind may roar like thunder, but your awareness is still. It doesn't fight the storm. It lets it pass without judgment. That is your power. That is your freedom. Because you'll never be free until you learn this. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them, and the one who sees is already free. 8. Stop struggling. Start surrendering. You've been fighting so long you don't even realize you're clenched, mind tight, jaw locked, heart armored, struggling against pain, resisting change, forcing life to match your plan. But here's the paradox. The tighter you hold on, the more you suffer. Like a fist trying to catch the wind, nothing flows when you grasp. Buddhism whispers a quiet truth. The more you resist, the more it persists. Imagine standing in a river, water rushing around you. The moment you try to stop the current with your hands, you stumble. But the moment you trust it, surrender, and float, the river becomes your path. The pain you've been resisting, the confusion you've been running from, the grief you've buried, all of it becomes lighter the moment you stop trying to control it. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving into reality. It's seeing clearly, this is what's happening right now. I don't have to like it, but I accept that it's here. Resistance builds walls. Acceptance opens doors. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is whisper to your pain, "This too belongs." There's a story of a young disciple who came to the Buddha overwhelmed by sorrow. "I've lost everything," he said. "How do I fix this?" The Buddha replied, "Let your sorrows pass through you like the wind through the trees. Don't hold, don't chase, just let it be." This is the way of surrender, to allow life to unfold not because you're weak, but because you trust that there's something wiser than your need for control. Think about this. What would happen if you stopped fighting and started flowing? If you stopped thinking you always need to figure it out and instead breathe through the moment, letting it move through you like rain on glass? Surrender invites peace, not because your life is perfect, but because your grip on needing it to be is loosened. Try this the next time discomfort arises. Instead of trying to fix it, name it, feel it. Then say, "This too is part of the path." Surrender doesn't numb you, it deepens your presence. It's a sacred pause, a breath between reaction and response. And in that pause, something changes. Pain softens. Fear loses its edge. Clarity quietly returns. Can you accept discomfort without trying to fix it instantly? Can you trust that the wave will pass if you don't chase or resist it? This is your training, not to fight every storm, but to trust the sky behind it. You're not here to dominate life, but to dance with it, to meet each moment not with resistance but with reverence. Because you'll never be free until you learn this. You don't escape suffering by fighting it. You dissolve it by surrendering to it. And in that surrender, life stops being a battle and becomes a blessing. 9. Compassion is your highest power. There is a story of a monk who was once asked, "What is the greatest power?" Many assumed the answer would be strength or courage or wisdom, but the monk's answer was simple: compassion. In a world that often teaches us to fight for what we want, to prove ourselves through achievements, compassion may seem weak, even passive. But in truth, compassion is the greatest power you possess. We all experience pain, and in that pain, we often lash out, we judge, we build walls. But hatred does not cease by hatred, it only grows. It's compassion, the deep understanding that every action, every word, every behavior is shaped by someone's suffering, that heals. The power of compassion is not in soft words or gestures, but in its ability to transform the hardest heart, the most broken of situations, into light. It is a fire that burns away hatred, turning the heat of anger into the warmth of understanding. Think about the times you've judged yourself for your mistakes or blamed others for the pain they've caused. What if, instead of condemnation, you replaced judgment with curiosity? What wounded this person so deeply? When you can see the humanity in another, their struggles, their fears, compassion flows naturally. And when you offer that same understanding to yourself, a tremendous shift happens. You stop seeing your mistakes as reasons for shame. Instead, they become opportunities to learn, grow, and forgive. Buddhism teaches us that kindness is not a weakness, but an expression of inner strength. It takes immense courage to face someone's anger with compassion, especially when it feels like you're the one who's been wronged. But consider this: what if compassion isn't just for others, but for your freedom? When you choose compassion, you free yourself from the shackles of anger, resentment, and fear. You no longer carry the weight of past hurts because you've let them go, not for the other person, but for your own peace. Have you ever wondered why we find it so hard to be kind when we're in pain? When life hurts, we tend to close ourselves off, to withdraw, to protect ourselves from more harm. But compassion is the antidote. The more you choose to open your heart, especially when it's difficult, the more freedom you create for yourself. You realize that compassion isn't about excusing the actions of others. It's about seeing them as human, just like you. It's about understanding that everyone is doing the best they can with the level of awareness they have. What if compassion is not a tool to fix others, but a key to your own peace? What if you could practice kindness, not because someone deserves it, but because it liberates you from carrying anger and pain? Can you be kind even when it hurts? To yourself? To the ones who've wronged you? It's in this practice that you discover true freedom, not just from others, but from the suffering within you. Compassion is your highest power. When you realize this, when you embody it, you no longer need to fight for control, validation, or safety. Instead, you rise above it all, your heart wide open, ready to heal and to free yourself and others. 10. Turn towards suffering, not away. The lotus flower is one of the most beautiful symbols in Buddhist philosophy. It rises from the mud, untouched by the murkiness below, its petals unfolding toward the sun. But here's the truth. The lotus doesn't grow in spite of the mud. It grows because of it. The soil, the muck, the very thing that seems to obstruct the flower's growth is what nurtures it to bloom. In many ways, your pain is the mud of your soul, and facing it is the only way you will emerge stronger, wiser, and more at peace. In our culture, we are taught to avoid pain at all costs. We run from discomfort, whether it's emotional or physical, believing that if we just push through, if we just distract ourselves, the pain will go away. But Buddhism teaches us something different. Suffering holds secrets. It contains the wisdom you need to grow, evolve, and find true freedom. The more you avoid it, the longer it will linger, festering in the background of your life. Only by turning toward it, by facing it head-on, can you release its grip on you. The next time you feel pain, whether it's the sting of a breakup, the frustration of a career setback, or the confusion of a life transition, try this. Sit still. Instead of running away or numbing the hurt with distractions, acknowledge it. Say, "Yes, I see you." Give the pain permission to exist. Sit with it for 3 minutes. You may be surprised to find that the moment you allow yourself to fully experience the discomfort, it begins to soften. Pain isn't as relentless when it's truly seen. When you don't push it away but allow it to be part of your experience, this is where transformation begins. What if your pain is the doorway to peace? What if instead of running from it, you walk straight into it? Imagine how much more free you would feel, not because the pain magically disappears, but because you have stopped letting it control you. The more you run from suffering, the more power it has over you. But the moment you embrace it, acknowledge it, and let it flow through you, you regain control. You discover that the very thing you feared is not your enemy, but your teacher. You are not broken, not defeated, not ruined by your suffering. You are, in fact, being shaped by it. The lotus wouldn't be as beautiful without the mud, and you would not be as strong without your struggles. There is strength in vulnerability. In turning toward the very thing that scares you, it's in this act of courage that you find liberation. So the next time life hurts, don't look for a way out. Don't distract yourself or numb the feelings. Instead, lean into it. Say to yourself, "This too belongs. I will not run from this." And watch as the pain begins to shift, and you find a sense of peace that was always waiting for you, hidden beneath the surface of your fear. Your freedom lies not in avoidance, but in acceptance, in embracing what is with an open heart and mind. 11. Question. Every painful thought. Painful thoughts deserve your curiosity, not your blind belief. Imagine your mind shrouded in a dense fog, a haze made up of assumptions, beliefs, and judgments. This fog distorts how you see the world, much like trying to view your reflection in a mirror that's completely steamed up. What you see isn't the truth. It's a version shaped by your mind's stories. Suffering doesn't come directly from the events in your life, a breakup, a failure, a loss of identity. It comes from the meaning you attach to them. The story you tell yourself about what happened is often what hurts the most. But what if that story isn't true? What if the pain isn't as inescapable as it seems? Buddhism reminds us that the mind is a storyteller, always narrating, always explaining. But many of those stories are built on shaky ground, assumptions, not truths. Freedom begins when you start to question them. Ask yourself, is this belief absolutely true? Can I know for sure? What if the narrative you've clung to, the one causing all the suffering, isn't reality at all? Take a moment and reflect. When you experience hurt, do you believe that it's the event itself that causes the suffering? Or do you believe that the meaning you've attached to the event is what brings the pain? The truth is, you can't always control the events that happen to you, but you can control the meaning you assign to them. The moment you question a thought that hurts you, you take away its power. You stop allowing the past to dictate your present. What would happen if you stopped believing that your worth was tied to success or that you are broken because of your mistakes? When you question the painful beliefs, you allow space for clarity. You shift your focus from what's wrong to what's possible. You can begin to let go of the stories that no longer serve you, the narratives that keep you trapped in cycles of pain and disappointment. Imagine the weight you could let go. Think about how much lighter you'd feel if you stopped carrying the weight of all those self-limiting beliefs. Instead of being a victim of your thoughts, you'd become the author of your own reality. Ask yourself today, what thought am I believing that no longer serves me? What if your understanding of the breakup, the setback at work, or the identity crisis isn't the full picture? What if the real source of your pain isn't what happened, but the story you've been telling yourself about it? And what if that story's wrong? If it is, imagine the freedom that could unfold simply by seeing things differently. This isn't about sugarcoating the truth, it's about uncovering it. Because real clarity isn't found in comforting illusions, but in honest reflection. The moment you begin to question every painful thought, you stop letting your past dictate your future. You reclaim your peace, your joy, your freedom. And like fog slowly lifting from a mirror, your vision clears. You start to see yourself not as flawed or broken, but as whole, strong, and deeply capable. Your freedom is never far. It begins with a single, powerful question you can ask whenever pain arises. Is this thought really true? Bonus lesson: stillness is strength. You've spent so much of your life in motion, reacting, striving, pushing forward. But what if the path to freedom isn't in doing more, but in doing less? Picture a still lake. When the surface is calm, it mirrors the sky with perfect clarity. But the moment it's disturbed, the reflection disappears, lost in ripples and waves. You are no different. In the relentless pace of life, always chasing, always doing, your true self becomes obscured by the noise. Stillness is where you return to yourself. In Buddhism, stillness isn't something to avoid, it's something to embrace. It's not weakness, it's deep, quiet strength. Because only in stillness can you truly hear. Only in silence can clarity rise. The challenge is that most people fear silence. The mind races. The quiet feels uncomfortable, like an empty space begging to be filled. But silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. It's in those quiet moments when you pause, breathe, and simply be, that your truest insights begin to surface. The noise of the world drowns out your inner voice. But in stillness, that whisper becomes a guide. Even just a few minutes of silence each day can shift everything. The fog lifts, the truth becomes clearer, and you remember, your power was never in the noise. It was in the stillness all along. Try this. Begin with stillness. Before you reach for your phone in the morning, before the world rushes in, give yourself just 5 minutes. 5 minutes of silence. No distractions, no goals, no expectations. Just you, your breath, and the quiet. You might be surprised by what happens when you stop trying to fill every moment with noise. Your thoughts begin to slow, your nervous system softens, your awareness sharpens. You become more in tune with your own energy, not reacting, not escaping, but simply being. In that stillness, truth begins to surface. And it's not just calm you find, it's strength. In a world obsessed with constant motion, more hustle, more results, more stimulation, real power lies in your ability to be still, to be fully present without needing to fix or flee, to sit with your emotions, even the uncomfortable ones, and let them move through you without judgment. This kind of strength doesn't come from doing more. It comes from creating space, from choosing to listen instead of react, from meeting yourself exactly where you are. Maybe a part of you fears the silence. Maybe you worry that if you stop moving, you'll have to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't expose your weakness. It reveals your capacity to heal. When you allow yourself even a few moments of true stillness, you give your soul room to speak, not with noise, but with quiet, steady truths. The kind that guide you, not with force, but with clarity. So the next time you feel overwhelmed or overstimulated, pause, breathe, let your mind settle like a still lake, and watch. Your true reflection, the strength, the clarity, the knowing, it's all there, waiting patiently for you to notice. Core principles of inner transformation. 1. Find the hidden force within you, already hold deep inner power. By becoming aware instead of reactive, you unlock your ability to respond with intention. This awareness is the gateway to true peace and freedom. 2. Wake up to reality. Suffering thrives in unconscious living. Awakening means seeing life clearly, without filters, stories, or resistance. It's not dramatic. It's deeply honest. 3. You are not broken, just fragmented. You don't need fixing, you need integration. Healing happens when you welcome every part of yourself, even the painful ones, back into wholeness. 4. Face your shadow. The emotions and truths you avoid are the ones that quietly run your life. Real freedom begins the moment you choose to face them. 5. Nothing happens by chance. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, is part of your soul's path. Trust the timing. There's always a deeper lesson life is trying to reveal. 6. Learn the collective unconscious. We are all deeply connected. Your healing ripples outward, and others' struggles reflect parts of you. Compassion expands when you see yourself in the whole. 7. Observe, don't absorb. You are not your thoughts or emotions. You are the awareness behind them. By observing without judgment, you liberate yourself from unnecessary suffering. Principles for inner peace and transformation. 1. Stop struggling. Start surrendering. Control feeds anxiety. Surrender is not defeat, it's alignment. Let go of resistance, and peace will meet you even in chaos. 2. Compassion is your highest power. True strength lies in understanding. When you replace judgment with compassion, healing flows within you and around you. 3. Turn towards suffering, not away. Avoiding pain amplifies it. Facing it transforms it. Every wound holds wisdom. When you stop running, growth begins. 4. Question every thought that hurts. Most suffering comes from believing unchallenged thoughts. Ask, is this true? When false narratives fall away, peace takes their place. 5. Stillness is strength. In a world of noise, silence is sacred. Stillness reconnects you to your true self. From that quiet space, clarity and power naturally rise. The journey inward. There comes a point when you stop searching for happiness outside yourself and start turning inward. That's where the true journey begins. Control isn't about dominating your life. It's about becoming deeply aware of it. The pain, chaos, and confusion you face aren't meant to break you. They're here to awaken you. Life shifts not when your circumstances change, but when your relationship with yourself transforms. Let this truth sink in. You are not a victim of your mind. You are its master. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, You reclaim your power. The path is not easy, but it is pure. No one can walk it for you, but the universe walks with you. The first step is simple. Start with silence. Start with your breath. This is how you return to your center. Zen teaches us that the way out of suffering isn't through more effort, but through less resistance. Stop struggling to fix what was never broken. Instead, listen, allow, and observe. Like a calm lake, when your mind settles, the truth of your life becomes clear. And in that clarity, there is no fear, only freedom. Don't wait for permission to live the life that is truly yours. Break free from mental chains, shed the masks, and walk into the truth that has always been waiting for you. Peace isn't something to chase, it's something to uncover, already resting within you. When you let go of who you think you should be, you finally become who you truly are. Now is your time. Begin again. Set yourself free. Start truly living.